So dear audience and the guests, thank you very much. Oh, I can see the share screen. So today we have two speakers. Our first speaker is Professor Park from the Department of Industrial and Information System Engineering at Soongsil University, South Korea. Professor Park's research focuses on human factors in complex technological systems, specifically exploring human errors in medicine and human-robot interaction. He serves as an editorial board member for multiple journals and contributes to academic societies like the Ergonomic Society of Korea and the Korea Society for Patient Safety. So additionally, he plays a role as a member of the advisory board for the Korea Institute for Healthcare Accreditation, actively participating in the education of patient safety professionals. So today, Professor Park will be the first speaker to talk about the future of work, HFE issues and challenges from the South Korea perspective. Professor Park, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Today I'll talk about the following.
Your screen seems okay. Good. Yep. Please.
Following three things. The first one is I'd like to introduce the education systems of human factors and ergonomics in South Korea, because I have talked to other professors in the different countries, and then found that their education system of human factors and ergonomics is quite different from countries to countries. So I'd like to share this one first, and then I'll talk about the challenges that we are facing. It could be a challenges of all of the world, across the world, but especially there are serious problems that we are facing. It is the low birth rate, and then the aging workforce. Because of these two, we need to change our workspaces and then the structure of the work, and then we have to think about the re-education programs and so on and so forth. So this response part is explaining how we are coping with this, the changes, the challenges that we are facing. Could be like automation and the use of AI, and then retraining workforces, and then trying to keep the capabilities of the aging workforces. And then followed by my presentation, the Professor Cheng will talk about more specifically on the exoskeleton and then workplace safety and kind of the topics. Okay, first I'll go through the HFE education system of South Korea. Like many other countries, human factors and ergonomics is not an independent department in South Korea. We have, the details will be presented in the next slide, but we have, combination of a couple of, different departments. And we are educating these topics, the human factors and ergonomics, together with other, disciplines. So there are some ups and downs, and then that makes some, different characteristics. Like, for example, if we teach this human factors and ergonomics in the industrial engineering, then we are more focused on the manufacturing and then supply chain management and those kind of things. But other disciplines like design and computer science and kind of some other disciplines also teach these human factors and ergonomics in different perspectives. So we are providing undergraduate and both undergraduate and graduate programs, and then most of them are combined with other disciplines, and then various domain-specific programs are offered. Like the human factors has many application domains. So for example, transportation, and some universities providing the human factors program more specialized for the transportation and aviation, kind of that. So the undergraduate program, depending upon the interest, the following three forms are common. most of the industrial engineering department in South Korea, they teach human factors and ergonomics. But some schools do not have this human factors and ergonomics within that. So industrial engineering, the name of industrial engineering department is, it also has some variations, like industrial and something engineering. So mostly, you know, 1 or 2 professors in majoring in human factors teach these topics in human factors, and 6 to 8 courses are offered for the undergraduate. I think AD is a bit, you know, I think, yeah, AD is kind of some exceptions. Mostly we teach, you know, 6 courses, including the research methodology like basic statistics, and then the experimental design and kind of that thing. And the second type is safety engineering. Safety engineering is the Department of Safety Engineering teaches human factors as one of the main topics, and then combined with the other specialized topics such as safety in electrical engineering or safety in mechanical engineering and things like that. So yeah, sorry about that. And then the safety engineering department is about, you know, 10 to 15 universities, and they are mostly located near the industrial sectors, like close to the capital, the northern part of, you know, South Korea, and then the southeastern part of South Korea. And then they often offer this multidisciplinary master level programs too. And the third type is designing human factors. This is sort of, you know, relatively new type of department, and they are combining this industrial design and human factors. So they covers the various issues of the industrial design, kind of, you know, user experiences, and then experience design, and all sort of, you know, related design the courses together with human factors. So they provide comprehensive courses for the undergraduate. And then I think, you know, designing human factors is more like they can deal with more in-depth topics in human factors as compared to other previous 2, you know, combinations, industrial engineering and safety engineering. Yeah, anyway, these are 3 types, and the third one is relatively new one. The postgraduate program is mostly for the interdisciplinary forms. They are combining together with product design and manufacturing. In that case, mechanical engineering and industrial design and human factors. For those programs, industrial design is usually the main part. So design students are learning human factors. And the interaction design is another combination. It is a combination of computer science and engineering and social sciences like communications and the human factors. So their perspective is more like social oriented. So how they interact with the systems and what kind of interaction is happening through this, you know, social media and sort of that thing. And then safety engineering is the chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, mainly for the construction, and the human factors. For this type of safety engineering, they put an emphasis on this macroeconomics, like how to design the safe systems, and then how they manage it, the workplace health and safety, and so on and so forth. And these postgraduate programs are commonly run by application domains. As I just mentioned, like vehicle design, air traffic control, and nuclear engineering, they are running the domain-specific programs, and then including the topics in the human factors, because, you know, the human factors topics, different types of human factors topics are requested according to these application domains. So overall, I would say there are ups and downs that we have these specialized programs. The upside is, we can teach these human factors, the principles to the various domains, but the downside is it is better to have some independent departments, like, at least just merge it together with the design department. And then, providing these courses to the engineering students, the whole engineering student as their basis. So anyway, that's sort of the overview of the education systems in the South Korea. And then now I'll go through the topics that the challenges that we are facing. The challenges that we are facing is, I think, worldwide. We are facing the same or the common problems all over the world, like pandemics that we have just gone through. But this kind of pandemic is expected to happen again, like in near future. Maybe it could be a different forms, but seems like it will happen again. And then economic crisis. Just after the pandemic, we are now experiencing this economic crisis, like high inflations, and for some countries, the deflations and kind of that the mixed type of the economic crisis, and the war and global warming. Like these issues are worldwide, I would say, and then we are all influenced by the problems that I have just mentioned. But there is one specific problem in South Korea is population crisis. This population crisis is somehow related with the crisis that I've mentioned earlier. But as compared to other countries, the decrease of the population is very outstanding in South Korea. Even Elon Musk, he mentioned like this is important. South Korea is currently tracking to lose about half its population roughly every generations. Long lifespan hides this dire nature of the problems. And this is the statistics collected by OECD. The South Korea's total fertility rate is the lowest among OECD countries. So the average is 1.5 something. And then, but South Korea, the average was 0.78 in last year, the 2022. And this year, second quarter, it is even much lower than that. It's 0.70. And then, especially that, phenomena is more conspicuous in the capital of South Korea, Seoul. The Seoul's birth rate is 0.53. That means two adults give birth, like half of the children. So the kids, that doesn't make sense. So 4 adults can make only 1 kid. So this population rate drops dramatically. And people say that there are, many, the journalists and then the government analyze this phenomenon and named a couple of issues like the price of this house, and then the inflation and kind of that thing, and also inequality in the gender and sort of that kind. But the problem is South Korean government spends about 200 billion, but it's not enough to persuade people to have a baby. I don't know whether you guys have watched this movie, The Lobster, before, but this is kind of black comedy movie, like, And then it filmed like some kind of imaginary society. In that society, the birth rate is very low, so they are enforced people, the single people, to find the spouse or the like, in other words, get married within 45 days. Otherwise, they will, become an animal, what any type of animal they want, what they turn into the human, into the animals. And, maybe we need those kind of these forcing policies in the future. This picture shows the newborn babies, the hospitals taking care of the newborn babies, and it is all empty. So that is showing the current issues. And because of that, we are on top of that, we are aging workforce problems. So 1 out of 5 Korean workers are over 60 years old. And then this is the trend showing the newborn babies. It's keep going down, and there is some ups and downs, but it's keep going down. And recently, like from 2015, before that, it was about 400,000 new babies born in every year, but it decreased about 272. It's about the half of this, the previous, the couple of previous 10 years, previous decade. So that, it shows the severity of these problems. And this figure shows that the South Korea will surpass Japan as the country with the oldest population by 2060. This is the year of 2020, this sky blue bar. And South Korea is not bad in here, but it is expected to high up here in 2016. So we are, our society is getting older very quickly. So that's the problems that we are facing. Okay, yeah, so we can see this. So aging workforce is the currently happening the problems, and this figure shows that the percentage of workers lacking in agriculture and fishing, it is going up here, and then the blue line is overall, and this yellow line is the agriculture and fishing. So we are lack of these workers in agriculture and fishing especially. And because of that, the percentage of workers over 65 in agriculture and fishing are keep increasing. In year of 2022, is over, 50%. Like, the 2 out of 1 person is over 65 in agriculture and fishing. So, and not only for this, agriculture and fishing, the workforce, overall workforce is getting older. And this is obvious because, our population structure is like that. So we cannot, avoid this in the future. So the future is actually determined. And then the problem is existing. So we have to find out a way to, cope with these issues. The government tried to increase this birth rate, but failed. So maybe we need to find some other, options other than increasing this birth rate. So the responses are like this. If we do not have, if our population is limited, and what we can do is let somebody who has not been working bring them into these workplaces. So female labor participation rate is showing the current numbers as compared to this top countries like Australia or China. South Korea is about 54.61% is participating, the females. So we still have about 45% who can work. Overall, if we compare with these top countries like Australia, we still have about 10% to go. So maybe in the near future, we need to bring the housewives into the workplaces. Could be a manufacturing, factories or service sectors or whatever. And in order to do that, we need to think about what is their capabilities and what is the difference between male and female workers and what they can do and what they cannot do. So that's what we need to think about as human factors engineers. The other way is importing foreign workforces. The ratio of foreign workers are kept increasing. Like this is the percentage showing. The trend is, increasing, and this is more recent figures. New working permit for the foreigners. 2018 and 2019 is about the same, and because of this COVID, the number of 2020 and 21 is very low. And in the year of 2022, it is close to be doubled. And many of them are manufacturing, and then farming, and then fishing. The service sector is not many now, but I think it is because of this working permit. So there are, some workers who do not need these working permits. And they are, many of them are working in the service sectors. So I think, this statistics is not reflecting the present, the ratio, but anyway, the number is increasing. And South Korea needs more babies and workers. So it's hoping foreign housekeepers will fix that. So one of the reasons that the birth rate is quite low is it is not easy to, breeding and raising the babies in South Korea. And, there are many, complex reasons, but one of the problem is the housekeeping workload is high, and it is, for the mothers, like kind of, tradition, the issues. So the government is thinking about importing the foreign housekeepers. And then I know that some countries are doing this, like Singapore and Hong Kong. They have their, own program of, having these foreign housekeepers. And the effect of this having foreign housekeepers are two ways. One is, having more, helping them to have more babies, and then bring the women's housewives into the workplaces. So hopefully it should work. Hopefully it would work. But if you look at the statistics of the countries who introduced this program before, like Singapore and Hong Kong, their birth rate is not very high. Anyway, these are something that we are doing. And then by having these foreign workforces, we are facing another issues, another problems. The first problem, definitely is the communication issues. And then their culture is also quite different. So because of this one, the workplace health and safety could be, compromised. And another barrier is introduced in the workplaces. So we need to think about how we can secure the workplace, safety with these foreign workers too. That's another, challenges that we are facing. So the solutions that Korean industry is trying to and then have done is automation and the robots. So the robots in industry is very common in South Korea. According to this reports, World Robotics 2022, the robot density in the manufacturing industry is highest in South Korea. It is even, if you think about or I talk about these robots, and then many people, I think, Japan is, very much into the robots, and they have, a lot of animations with this robot and humanoid too. But for this manufacturing industry, like this, the welding robots or the construction robots in the bottom picture, these are used and they are replacing the workers. So if we cannot find workers in the industry, in the manufacturing plant, we need to put some more robots in these manufacturing sectors too. So that's something that we are doing. And because of this one, the human-robot interaction is, now becoming more and more important. And that's also topics of human factors. Okay. And the service robot is not an exception. Because of this, the increase in wage and then the lack of workforces, the Korean restaurant has changed a lot. Before, as compared to before the, COVID-19, the restaurants, they actually laid off or, reduced the workforces as a waiter or waitress, and then changed the order system, and they place it in every tables. So people can, order whatever they like here, and then they can pay here. So they don't need this, the person who is serving. And that reduces the, the demand of workforces, I think, quite a lot. And also, many restaurants introduced the robots for delivering their food. So they put when they order their food, and then if it is them being made, and it is delivered through these robots. By doing that, they are reducing the person who is working at the home. So all the people are working at the kitchen. And I'd like to simply show this video, Naver 1784 office. This office is built for the robot friendly, so to speak. So let me play this. Can you guys see that?
No, we are still seeing your PPT slides.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay, let me share again.
Yes, shift the window, maybe. Yeah, okay. Yes, we can see it.
This delivery robot building that is use their design for robot only. This is later, and they call versus the body versus copy.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Professor Park, but the sound is very distorted. We cannot understand you. Perhaps
Probably it's due to the video problem.
Yeah, I think it's the video. Yeah.
Is it better? Is it better? Okay.
No.
But delivers the whatever food they make, to the person, and then other, stuff too, like packages, and then kind of I visited this one, and then they explained.
Professor Park, perhaps if you play the video and then talk after
Mhm.
you've turned off the video because it isn't working.
Okay, I see. And then let's watch this video just a little bit.
Please switch back your screen.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just briefly explain the video. They are actually building their new office, which is 24 stories anyway, very big building. And then when they build this new office, they planned to introduce these delivery robots, and then they made the elevator system specially designed for the robots only, and then they put all the marks in the ceiling, so and there is a camera on top of this robots, and the robot can find out their way to the starting point to the delivery point. Like this robot is quite heavily coming into the lives. In the office, they don't need to, even for the lunch, they can order through their cell phones and then get it delivered to the desk. Anyway, this service robot is quite becoming quite popular in South Korea. Related with this, the service robots, the human-robot interaction issue is, still the remaining. The way they, interact with the robots, and then if they, see each other, how the robot will deliver their intentions to the humans. Like, for example, if they meet each other and somebody give ways to each other, the humans, we are very good at catching their emotions and then finding out the way, like left or right, but the robot is different. So those kind of interaction is becoming more complex, and then we need to think about how we do that. And then other responses, other the solutions that we are thinking about is retraining workforces. We are losing, as we get older, we are losing physical and cognitive capabilities. And then if they retire, and they will face some, economic issues too. So with this, three things like digital transformation, and then reskilling and upskilling, and we are also finding some consulting or advisory roles. We are trying to keep the workforces up to date. So digital transformation changes actually, a lot of this quality, engineers. The quality engineering is traditional part of industrial engineering, but previously they are more, they think more about how we can, find the defects without, missing, and kind of that thing. Now it is all pretty much all automated. This AI technology replaced the human inspectors, I think, pretty much a lot. So the role of quality engineer is now becoming the data scientist. It is very close to the data scientist. So this kind of digital transformation need the retraining the workforces. They have, changed the nature of their jobs. So we need to reskill them, or giving some, upskilling kind of things. Changing this working environment for a wider range of workforces. As I mentioned, we have to admit the female workers, female construction workers, for example, or foreign workers to our workplaces. So we need to redesign that. If there is a language barrier, we need to change the instructions written in the words into like pictograms or some icons. And then if the workbench is designed for the male workers, we need to change it for the adjustable or good for the female workers too. And while we are finding some other roles, consulting or advisory roles. I think you guys may have watched the movie The Intern. The experience never gets old. So as we lose our physical or cognitive capabilities, we are gaining some experiences which will be helpful. And then how we can, for example, how we can manage this workplace safety. That is, some of them is actually, I think, coming from their experiences. They have looked at the change of this workplace and change of the workers' behaviors. So those areas could be something that we need to use the wisdom of this old, elderly workforces. So, and also we can convert their experiences into knowledges. So they build up their knowledge base or kind of their experience, transfer their experience into the new generations. So they can provide this consulting or advisory roles. And then this is something that human factors engineers can do and have done. So other things is keeping workforce as long as possible. Even though they are getting older, we need to find out a way to supporting their physical or cognitive, degradations. So they could be like some decision support systems. Well, for example, the attention spans or the response time is, the attention spans getting shorter and the response time is getting longer. So we need to design some, or introduce some the decision support systems which can detect the problems more easily, redesign the screens to be more, effective and good for the people who has some visual, the issues and the problems. As we get older, our visual acuity is, keep decreasing. And another way is the exoskeletons. This is the exoskeleton developed by the shipbuilding company. They are handling this heavy, the stops like here, the metal, the plate. And then, so by reinforcing their physical capabilities, we would like to keep these workers as long as possible, and then keeping the know-hows into, while they are staying in their company. So this is about what I have prepared. And then actually, the issues, the birth rate issue, and then the aging workforce issue is upcoming and we cannot change it. But I don't think we have clear answer for that. We are looking at some other countries who has experienced this before, like some European countries and Japan, and some, maybe the US. But the problem is the speed is very high. We are rapidly decreasing workforces and then highly increasing the aging populations. So maybe, I hope, the human factors engineering, human factors and the ergonomics can have some, solutions to cope with this the issues that we are facing. And thank you for listening. And I'd like to pass the microphone to Professor Zhang, who will talk in details about this exoskeleton and workplace safety things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Park. I saw a question from Professor Ganguly. He's asking about whether, let's see, okay, so Professor Cheng already replied this question. Okay, so in the Q&A, Professor Ganguly asked whether there is no involvement of physiotherapists. So Professor Cheng already replied. Okay, so thank you very much. Our next speaker is Professor Cheng. He's a member of the Department of the Industrial and Management Engineering at Soongsil University, Busan, Korea. So a major area of interest for him in the last few years has been industrial ergonomics and occupational safety. And he has worked as a number of projects related to these topics. So besides serving as a vice president of the Ergonomic Society of Korea, he also serves as editor of its journal. His presentation will include an overview of the current research trend in Korea regarding exoskeletons, which Professor Park already mentioned, so which was presented to the National Research Foundation of Korea in 2022. So Professor Cheng, please share your screen and start your presentation if you're ready.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we can see your screen.
Okay. Yes, hello. I am Hong In Zhang, and well, today I will tell you about exoskeleton in Korea. Let me see. Oh, yeah. These days we are busy to prepare, IEA 2024, and we had many meetings to prepare that. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting, for it's almost just 1 year left. And I hope all of you would participate in this, Congress. And about 1 or 2 months ago, this person is Professor Park Woo-jin asked us, we need, some of us needed to present something for this webinar series, and then nobody wanted. And I suddenly remember, well, in 2022, I submitted kind of, issue report for foundation organization in Korea. And I asked him the summary of that kind of report will work for that, the webinar series. And he said yes. And I was selected for this presentation. And fortunately, Professor Park Taezoon is kind of major presenter. Well, I'm just a minor presenter. So I will just briefly and roughly introduce the summary of that report. As I told you, well, in 2022, the National Research Foundation of Korea, it's called NRF, well, is major research fund resource in Korea for professors and scholars. And annually, they publish the issue report. So in 2022, I was asked to prepare kind of issue report in industry engineering and ergonomics field. And usually, industry engineering and ergonomics project proposals are classified into interdisciplinary high-state research in Korea right now. So I asked, 5 professors from various universities, and we prepared the issue report. And today I want to tell you about, brief and rough summary of that report. And additionally, I'll just tell you about ongoing project. NRF was established in 2009, and Dr. Ming Zhang was fourth president of that organization. He is an ergonomist, and usually, the NRF budget sizes in 2019, they have 5,236 million US dollars. There is a kind of national research fund. And just like other countries, the professors and scholars apply their proposals, and then if selected, you can get the research fund. And the NRF will annually published what research is hot and important, and then would be important in the near future. So in 2022, I suggested exoskeletons, and then we reported what is the exoskeleton, and I felt actually at that time the fund is not enough for exoskeleton, so we suggested exoskeleton as a topic for the annually research report. Maybe most of you know about what exoskeleton is an wearable structure that enhances and augments human physical capabilities. Well, its name is literally refers to wearable mechanical devices, one externally to provide additional strength and support and mobility to users. And then it can make enhanced productivity in the working place, and then minimize work injuries. There are 2 types of exoskeletons. First one is a passive one, and the other one is active exoskeletons. These 2 are passive exoskeletons. These 2 is now tried in Korean automobile company, Hyundai Automobile Company. So, we know it can reduce reactor spinning activations by 10 to 57%, and in making our workplace safe. And then it is effective at symmetrical task, when it's requiring lumbar flexion. And then it's most effective when used in movements in the middle sagittal plane. It's working and effective. And even though it's reduced physical strain, but it is not comfortable. Well, wearing the stuff is takes time, and then some workers doesn't like to wear the kind of things. So it is kind of problem. And it can be heavy. So we selected exoskeletons as a topic for the issue report because I believe in industry is studied actively, but in government level, the research fund is not enough. So we selected the exoskeletons, and then as a usual, government issue report, we described market outlook. It's increasing usually, like that. Global market insights estimates the wearable robotics exoskeleton market at 220 million in 2018, and then it would be maybe it's expected, predicted about 3.5 billion in 2026. Well, in worldwide, maybe it would be increased. The market size would be increased. So for the issue report, we searched how much is studied in the world, and then the research exoskeleton on Scopus.com website, and then the number of papers published related to the exoskeletons has increased by about 6 times from 2011 to 2021. We also searched and combined the keywords exoskeleton and the muscle, and the exoskeleton and the musculoskeletal disorder. And then the results, more than 6 and 90 times more papers were published in 2021 than in 2011. And we searched the ESK journal. ESK is Ergonomic Society of Korea. So in Korea, well, in 2022, only about 25 papers were published. So it's increasing. So we know, well, exoskeletons are becoming increasingly important in industry and defense and healthcare and welfare and other fields. And many kinds of exoskeletons are studied and developed in the worldwide. And in Korea, LG Electronics developed LG Chloe suitboard. When Professor Taezoon introduced the LG Chloe is a service robot, and this one is an exoskeleton, for helping reduce the lumbar strain. And the Hyundai Rotem, they developed fax. This one is a fax, and the other is fax for lower body. And the Samsung also developed GEMS. Well, it's a lower limb wearable exoskeleton to help individual to walk, especially for the disabilities. And other researchers also studied how to make it lighter and how to make it more comfortable, and how to increase their productivity. That thing is hot. And NRF funding status for exoskeletons in 2017, 7 research proposals were selected by NRF. These 7 proposals just by the NRF. Well, maybe from other organizations or from industries, many other researches would be conducted, but this shows NRF funding status. So 7 proposals were selected, and 2018, 2 proposals were selected in exoskeleton field. In 2021, 2 proposals were selected. So research fund is about 2021, 1,073 million Korean won. It's about in US dollar, 814,000 US dollar. So again, I felt it's not enough for exoskeleton development. So maybe we need to apply more proposals to the NRF. And I hope exoskeleton project proposals would be funded in the future. It's about up to here. I will briefly, really roughly tell you about NRF funding status for exoskeletons. And I contact my friend. Well, he's conducting ongoing project. It's about rural development administration project. Well, their goal is develop customized wearable lower limb assistive device for Korean farmers. Well, actually, in ergonomist in Korea, well, we have conducted more than, let me see, 10 years 20 years. Well, in the Korean farmers, we conducted many researches, and so recently they started develop exoskeleton for the farmers. Their annual research objectives is like this. Well, first year they did lab-based evaluation of existing industrial lower limb assistive devices, and then they checked the prototype of a wearable lower limb assistive device. And this year, it's totally 5-year project. And this year, they checked the first prototype of a lower limb assistive device, and they evaluated the prototype. And in 2026, hopefully they will develop exoskeleton for the Korean farmers. This one is kind of their first prototype. They are applying anthropometry, and they are considering biomechanics and then usabilities, and they suggested their first prototype. It will be being developed again, and it looks like this. Well, there's waist belt over here, and they can wear it. If they wear this one, it looks like this. And they are checking, well, its effectiveness and its productivity, and whether it's working well, or even farmers maybe try this one later, like that. And up to here, I prepared briefly and roughly summary of research fund for of Korean government and for exoskeleton and an ongoing project. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cheng. Very interesting topic for the exoskeleton. I see a guest asking a question. So can you see that on the Q&A box?
Okay.
Yes. Maybe you or Professor Park may answer the questions. So can you see that?
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So how to improve the awareness?
Yeah.
You see that, right?
Yeah,
from
I saw that.
Mr. Young.
Well,
yes.
We always talking about this. Well, in Korea, maybe the term ergonomics is not so familiar to for everybody. Well, maybe they heard about ergonomic chair, ergonomic kitchen, but in university level, what they teach and then what kind of job is for ergonomists is given, that is not popular. Well, maybe so what we do is well, we try to do some publicity to the high school students, and they will grow up, and then if we repeatedly publicity them what ergonomics is and how ergonomics is applied to our real life, and then they will know. And maybe we can, I think publicity is the most important. Well, we can do something for newspaper. Well, and one thing, we are doing some our society, ESK, is every year we host ergonomic design award, So many companies, industries will apply their product for the world. And then we evaluate the products, and then we suggest how to make it more usable and how to make it better. And then the president of that award is the Professor Taezoon Park. That kind of, that kind of thing would be helpful to, make more people know, aware for the, human factor and ergonomics.
Okay, thank you, Professor Cheng. Professor Park, you have something to say about this?
Yeah, I'd like to add, just my thoughts about that. What we are doing is actually we'd like to put this concept of human factors and ergonomics into the textbook of high school or middle school students, because if they know that, and then like just Professor Zhang mentioned, they will know about this, what human factors and ergonomics is, and then they can find out a way to apply the principles and later. And another success story I'd like to share is there was a graduate student who has evaluated the different types of office chairs, and then whether that is good for good designed, or how much does it cost. And there's some chairs are really expensive as compared to other normal chairs. And then so they evaluate these chairs and then give some quantitative and qualitative comments on that. And they put it on YouTube, and that what the channel was quite successful. I think that is one way that we can try to increase the publicity of the human factors. Yeah, but it's a long way. When I'm actually working together with many hospitals, and when I go to the nurses and doctors and then say that, do you know what human factors is? And they actually don't know about it. Somebody say that they know human factors, but they don't know ergonomics. So there is still a long way to go, but we have to try. And that's what ESK is for, and that's what IEA is for, I think. And then IEA 2024 should be the one way of publicizing this human factors and ergonomics to general public. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Park. Do we have any other questions from our audience? So, Professor, I have one question. So you talk about the human factors due to the, especially the aging problems in Korea. So how do you see the impact of the AIs? The impact of AIs for the future of work in the future?
May I start?
Yes, please. Thank you.
AI is that I think actually it changes a lot of work in office workers. Like before the AI, I mean the deep learning, many people thought that this automation is pretty much advancing the faster. So this kind of repetitive, and then the body related, the physical work will be replaced by the robots. But nowadays the cognitive work is more rapidly replaced by the AIs, deep learnings. So like just I mentioned, like simple recognition of defects, and then differentiating from cats and dogs, and those kind of classification problems, and then the large language models. I think that will replace many of these office workers and the service the service sector workforces. So in the human factors perspectives, we need to admit that some of the jobs, some of the tasks should go to the AI side, but there are some still unanswered parts, and So the challenge I would think is how we can incorporate this, the humans and then the AIs. The AI is made by humans, so it is not perfect. So there should be some issues that, that may be coming up in near future. And then we all know that, the current AI has some limitations, and that limitation cannot be solved within, 1 or 2 years. So how we, accommodate these AIs with this the workforces, I think it would be the challenging the problems. And then there is, something we need to work on. The technical people like these engineers, computer scientists, they are not interested in that. They just want to make their technology perfect. But I think, there is nothing like perfect technology. That's where we should work, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Park. Since the time is already nearly 6:30, so
Right.
we have to say goodbye, and we have now still 3 audience, Professor Pawa, Professor Yang, and Komani. So just now, Professor Ganguly just left. He joined for the